right. Okay. So then let's go on, because I wanted to do very specifically dealing with an action plan. So I've asked you to bring a paper and pen, and then for us to actually kind of try and work through practically how to put each of your action plans together. Because this is an important document. This is going to be essentially what sets you up moving forward. And it is a document that you want to refer to, I would suggest, every single day. So it's something that you keep nearby. You can refer to it. You can remind yourself what it is you need to do, because it's the kind of, it is essentially what you're going to be doing week by week, month by month, and even long, year by year, if necessary, if we're going that far. So I wanted to start with long-term goals, because of course those are your into the distance goals. And Jenny, you spoke about last week what you were looking for, but it was also quite general. And Elsner, we've discussed kind of the general idea of the reason you're on this course, but I would like both of you to be quite specific about your goals. So have you done that? Have you got an idea of what it is you want to be looking at in, say, a year to 2 years' time? And can you share that with me, if you can be precise? Elsner, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I want to be, I'm not chubby at all. So, but I want to be lean. I want to lose this excess fat or whatever I've got.
Yeah.
And I think that will be by eating correct foods, and also by training a bit harder,
Yeah.
which I already do with you. And then I don't want any more abdominal pain, which I get from eating bread, or if I eat anything a little bit which is not good for my stomach, then I get extreme
Yeah.
pain, and my bladder, I don't know what you call it, but it starts to swell.
Okay.
And then I don't want, uh, that's, I think, the second top thing on my list is my feet is always blue,
Okay.
because my circulation is so bad,
Yeah.
and I want to get rid of that.
Okay.
And that's my thing.
Okay.
Actually, that's all.
Okay. That's great. Jenny, was there anything, well, maybe just go over what you had said. Well, tell me what I know what your general end goal is, but talk us through it.
Yes, so I must lose between 18 and 20 kilos, probably more like 18.
Okay.
And with that, so much more is going to, so many more of my long-term goals come into play. So I'll be able to exercise more comfortably. And also, I've written here as well, just comfortably being able to go for a little jog. It's something I enjoy, but right now it's like carrying a pack of potatoes with me. So it's not really enjoyable or possible or good for me to do that.
Yeah.
And then also, with your having lost those extra kilos, it will just make the exercising so much more fun. So for instance, I'll just share this quickly, the exercises that I've been doing, that you've been sending. Like, I just wonder how you get from one position to another. It looks so easy. You look like, you look like a stick insect just getting there. And I think, good grief, how did that happen?
Hilarious.
And so it's not easy for me at this point. And I know I'll get there.
Yeah, you will. And I'm sorry that I haven't considered that it's difficult to move from one. Lovely feedback. That's fantastic feedback, because and I've got people in class with various injuries, and I'm aware of that, but it's, it's so familiar to me to do that. And of course, obviously we're on a bit of a time thing, but it's useful to know, actually. It's useful to know. So thank you.
Don't change it. I mean, it's brilliant. I just I'm in admiration, that you're able to do that.
Okay, well, okay. So there's some very nice specific stuff in there. Actually, both of you have got some quite specific stuff. So maybe what we need, so then you both of you have a picture of what you want. Elsner, it would be useful if you could also think about, Jenny's given us an exact amount that she wants to lose. Now, with getting lean, it is about losing body fat for sure. So, and you're right, it's not as if you're overweight, but what you want to do is you want to start seeing the underlying muscles. So you want to start getting to lean to the point of actually showing that. So
if I can use, say, 5 kilograms.
Yeah, so I was going to say, can you quantify that? And 5 kilos is a very specific number. So, and I think that's probably about right. I think that's about right. So that takes care of the wanting to be lean and losing the excess fat. No more abdominal pain is very specific. And so is, sorting out this issue with your circulation. That might require different input from different practitioners, but we can address that as we go. So maybe it's also, so then we'd sort of have to unpack, what's going to lead you to being lean. But we know that at our age group, exercise is not how we get lean. In our age group, it's diet. Okay, so we know that diet's going to be paramount, and we're going to be, as I say, we're going to be going into much more depth next week with diet and intermittent fasting and carb cycling and all the rest of it. So if those are your kind of long-term goals, and what sort of period are we looking at, the two of you? Did you decide on a year? Did you decide on 2 years?
6 months.
Okay, so I would suggest, how long have you had the abdominal pain and how long have you had the circulatory issues?
Forever.
Sorry?
Forever.
Okay, so 6 months might be too soon, might be too quick.
Okay.
So I don't think it's too quick for the leanness necessarily, the leanness aspect, but it might be too quick for the other things. So it might be better to see that as a 12-month thing in terms of the ultimate, so we can always build that 6-month mark. That can always be your lean, get to 5 kgs down at 6 months. But beyond that, it's looking at health as a long-term thing over 12 months. Jenny, what was your thinking?
2 years. That's good.
Okay. Jenny, what were you thinking?
think I was thinking a year to 18 months.
Okay, yeah. So I'd always err on more rather than less time, always, because it takes the pressure off. You have an idea in mind, and then if you can achieve that faster, it's much, much healthier than doing the reverse and then just feeling under pressure all the time. Also, think about how long you've left things, we've got to kind of undo years of faulty habits, and so that we need some time for, and as long as you're moving in the right direction, that's great. Okay, so we're going 18 months with Jenny and 12 months Elsner, but 6 on the lean.
Yes, sorry, I must just say that the leanness is 6 months.
Yeah,
and then
I know that's great.
I understand that might take longer, but that's fine.
Yeah. Sometimes the health stuff does, because it requires a bit of investigating and experimenting as well. Okay, so then basically you can see what what I put down here as examples are really just quite specific things, so they relate to, and you might even want to build in some of these things like fit into a specific clothes size, because really what we're looking for is less about weight and more about leanness for both of you. I mean, obviously there's weight involved, but as you build more muscle mass, so Jenny, you're in a position where you've got more to lose, so you're likely to see a bigger switch. So in other words, you'll see your weight come down and it'll stabilize somewhere because you're going to be starting to build muscle up. For Elsner, it's a much smaller margin. And although she's already quite muscular because she's been doing exercise for a long time, so it's going to be much more likely that those 5K she loses are going to be more fat, whereas for you, you're going to be switching some underneath the fat, so you'll be building the muscle at the same time. So for both of you, I would be very inclined to suggest that you don't focus on weight, but that you focus on some sort of clothes size or a pair of pants, for example, that when you're at your ideal weight feels comfortable. And so when you put it on, it's not like your skin is hanging over that, or you feel it's too tight, or it's really uncomfortable. That would be a better bet, because remember, weight is just your relationship with gravity. It's got absolutely nothing to do with your composition. You have no idea what it's telling you. So I always think it's, and I'm not one of those practitioners. I pride really. I mean, it's a unique thing about not weighing clients. I have no interest in the actual gravitational weight. It's just the or gravitational mass, should I say. It's really just about whether they're lean or not. And I think I've said to you before, for me, my BMI, I'm 60 kgs, I'm 5'5", and I'm considered on the verge of overweight to obese on a BMI.
Sure.
Because I'm very dense. I'm very dense, it's mostly in my ass. But the point is, I'm lean. I'm not concerned about my weight at all. But as long as I'm lean and I fit into my jeans each year and the stuff that I wear from year to year, and it's quite useful, each season. I mean, here, obviously in the UK, it's the switch from season to season is much more extreme. So it's quite interesting to get to the end of the season. You go, oh, I wonder if I'm going to fit last season's stuff. And then, so that's a useful way to do it. So you can see it's also very specific here, and it might be what you've got to do is unpack it into specifics around. So Jenny, you would put your light jog and define that. What is a light jog? What does that mean? Does it mean 5Ks comfortably in half an hour? Does it mean 3Ks in an hour? So define that. Make sure you know exactly what you're aiming for. Elsner, you've got circulation, improved circulation, you've got reduced abdominal pain, and then you need to be more specific about kind of the leanness stuff on the 6-month mark. Jenny, so unpack it, as I say, a little bit more than that. So what I'm going to do is we'll work through this. We won't tie it all up, but it's just to give you the ideas so that you can go away, put these things into this document, and then come up with a completed plan. All right. Unless you need, if you need any help with any further bits, just let me know. And stop me now if you feel that you need to address anything more intensively. So medium term, we're looking at, Jenny, because your goals are sort of a year and a half, your medium term is going to be, I would think it might be a good idea to, I always think 3 months as a short-term goal is quite nice. So you break it down. If you've got, Elsa, you've got 2 times 3 months to get to your leanness goal, plus another 2 times 3 months to get to your end goal. Jenny, you've got 3 of those doubles coming up. And the reason I like to do that is because I think short-term goals are quite useful to do in 3 months. And I'll show you why in a second. Okay. But even at this, so this is, essentially, we're saying if we look at a halfway mark, so Jenny, it's 3/4 of a year. Elsner, let's talk about it as half a year. Where do you want to be, and what should that look like? So if a light jog means 5Ks in 30 minutes at the end point, what does it mean at the halfway point? What should you be looking to achieve by the time you get to that 6-month mark, or the 3/4 of a year mark? Same with you, Elsner. So unpack it into that. Think about it in terms of maybe clothing size. Think about it as you might even want to be specific with an item. So maybe you can fit into those jeans. They might not be comfortable enough to wear, but you can actually fit into them and close the button. Okay. So again, be specific about those medium-term goals. Are you both happy with that?
Yeah.
The most of the work happens in the short-term goals, because that's where you've got to unpack it and be quite specific about it in terms of your day-to-day actions. Okay, so this is 0 to 3 months, and as I say, to be repeated, because you're doing it over a short term, but you've got to look at quite a few changes to be implemented in order to reach your goal. So I think that possibly it's a good idea. Let's go into, so you can see the kinds of things I've given as an example. Some of them are really just having, thinking about something. For others, it might be about putting something very specific in place, like if you hadn't been intermittent fasting. So Elsner, for you, it might be saying, okay, yes, I'm now going to skip breakfast 5 times a week minimum. And that's your new change. And you've done it before, you're familiar with it. So it's not going to be a very big change.
Can I ask you?
Yes.
So weekends, it's very difficult for me because the kids are coming or we go out. So if I do it from Monday to Friday, can I skip then Saturday and Sunday?
So remember that anything you do that's headed in that direction is better than not doing anything. So even twice a week would be better than none. You typically, I find that what happens on weekends often is that because we're with family and because it's kind of a more relaxed vibe, often breakfast comes in later anyway.
Yes.
So I look, just do what you can. That's all. The more you do, the better. So that's what we're down to. It's and remember, this is all about fitting into your lifestyle. So if it's important for you to be able to have those weekends off and you're typically very set and motivated during the week to continue with it, then I think that's perfectly fine, because this is also about making sure it's realistic. Okay. All right. Okay, so my suggestions in terms of setting up what we look at next, which is a diary of change, is to bring in one change at a time. Bring in something feasible that you know you can manage. Remember, we spoke initially about change in the first session, and I said to you that I always think it's a good idea to focus on one thing. The only way you can get away with focusing on more than one thing is if, for example, you choose different layers of change. So let's say I start seeing a therapist because I want to deal with some emotional stuff that I know is impacting on my health. That's one big change, but that's something that is independent from, for example, drinking enough water in a day or skipping breakfast. Those are three changes I can probably do quite successfully. They're not going to impact on each other. Whereas if I said, oh, I'm going to go and train 5 days a week and I'm going to make sure that I eat keto every day, that's two enormous changes that are going to impact very massively on your life. So you can think about implementing one change in any area that isn't going to conflict with anything else. Okay. For sure, you need to do it daily in order to practice it, to get to that point where you don't have to think about it. Okay. Then repeat until unconscious. We spoke about, I think I mentioned the whole dry skin brushing thing. The habits. Did I chat to you girls about that?
You said last week, you mentioned it last week. Yeah.
So just that idea of, getting into some kind of habit that's become so familiar that when you walk into whatever room that it happens in, or you're in the headspace, any part, whether it's prepping a meal or eating it, or it just becomes second nature because it's so ingrained. And that's the danger of skipping just one day. That is the danger. Not so much with the intermittent fasting, although you might find, Elsner, that on Monday you're a little bit like, oh, this is quite tough on a Monday. Because on Saturday and Sunday you've skipped it. You might not. I think for me these days it's been going on for so long that I just don't feel the difference at all. So you might be the same. And then select your next change. Of course, when that habit has become unconscious, then you know it's time to add another one. Okay, when it's become easier for you to bring it in. All right, so let me just, I'm trying to, there we go. All right, so this is the way that I think is worth setting up. Now you can look at this, you can do it any way you like. You can do it any way you like. I think it's quite useful to set up a week by week schedule. Okay, I've just done, you can see I've done 1, 3, 6, 9, and 12. So it just gives you an idea of the shortened version over a 3-month period. So I started with skip breakfast because you're both familiar with that and it's something you can just continue to do. And then I added in week 1, drink 3 glasses. And this was for someone, when we were discussing this particular exercise, it was for a client who probably drank 1 or 2 glasses in a day. So, and you can see that
I don't drink water.
You what?
I don't drink water.
Oof, Elsner, this one's yours. This one's yours. We're going to talk about hydration and why it's so important, especially actually in the context of fat loss. It's quite important for that. Well, it's a useful thing for that. So yeah, look, it's something that you can start to build in. So if you are literally not drinking any, you might want to start with drinking 1 glass a day, forcing yourself first thing in the morning when you're most dehydrated, wake up, take a glass of water, and then make that your habit. So every single morning, and you put a note on your desk, or you put that water next to your bed, and the first thing you do is drink it. Okay, and then you just start to increase it over time, and you can decide exactly how much over time you increase it. But you can see that I've brought it up by 2 glasses or by a glass every 2 weeks. So we're just kind of bringing more and more in until we hit what's ideal. Okay, we'll be talking about what's ideal. In fact, I gave that to you in the first session. We spoke a little bit about water. Now, on week 3, I sort of brought in that prepare a healthy dinner. So I didn't go straight into, oh, let's keto every meal. Okay, we already down to 2 meals, so that makes life very easy. And then I thought, okay, well, let's put in either a healthy dinner or a healthy lunch or something that just brings in that 1 meal at least that we're looking at, and we're saying, okay, we're going to try and stay under 50 grams of carbs, and we're going to try and bring in more fat. And again, as I say, we'll talk more detail next week. But certainly in the meantime, you have enough information to know that you're going to try and stay under those 50 grams. You're going to try and add a bit more fat, and you're going to make sure you eat, protein every time you eat. So that's easy enough to do. And you know more or less what a healthy meal looks like. If it comes out of a packet, it's not likely to be, especially if it's instant. But if it is something you have to prepare yourself, it's more likely to be. And then I had the example of dry skin brushing in here, because none of these, again, are going to conflict. So skipping breakfast becomes a habit. You're both doing it anyway. Drinking 5 glasses, that's now 6 weeks in. So I'm very familiar with the idea of drinking more. I've been preparing my healthy dinner for the last 3 weeks. And then I'm just going to try and add something in before I shower. So I'm now kind of allocating different changes to different areas. And one is a practical, one is a physical thing, another one is a, whatever. So you can decide how those should happen. And then you can see week 9, I've brought in lunch. So we've now got dinner and lunch, and then we've got reducing sugar. There's loads of different ways that you can do this. Obviously, you need to look at what is going to work for you in terms of also what's important to you. So if we know that, so for you, Elsner, you've got an interesting, you've got 2 health issues that, as I say, may need more investigating. But what we want to do is we want to start with the basics. Remember, health is about an expression of cellular capacity or efficiency. So everything that we experience is about how our cells are expressing themselves. And so the very first place we should look if we want to improve cellular health is going to be diet, because that's the raw material that the cells are going to use in order to be either efficient or not efficient. And so to my mind, it makes sense to, certainly for the first 3 months, to do as much as we can to get you to the ideal point in terms of diet, exercise, and all the other lifestyle habits we're going to be talking about. So, and then maybe after that 3-month mark, we start talking about if we don't see enough change, or we're not seeing any change, then we start talking about maybe who else you can see for very specific things. But I have a feeling that you might start to kind of see some change with it. I'll also do some research around those particular issues. Certainly circulation is one that would have, and I think it popped up on your health appraisal questionnaire. What else did I want to say about this? There was something. Have you guys got any questions around this? Can you see that this, and you need to build, so Jenny, you're going to need to build exercise into this in the sense that, you know that you're doing the 3 training sessions a week, and you know that those are strength training sessions, and you know that those are ideal for changing shape and improving posture and all the rest of it. But your goal specifically is that you want to be able to run a light jog. By the way, can I ask why you have that goal?
I just enjoy it.
Okay, cool. Great.
Yeah.
So you know that's a goal, and you have to start building that in. So it might be that at this point, for maybe the first month, it could be that it's just you might want to bring in a sort of HIIT type and I don't mean HIIT as in sprint. I mean, you might want to just walk your warm up and then just do a very light jog for 1 minute and then rest for 2, and then run for 1 and rest for 2. You're already doing that.
That's the exact program. So it's, yeah, you walk for 6 minutes and you run for 1. You repeat that 3 times for a week, and then you add, I think, another minute the next week. So it's very gradual. I've done it before. It works like a dream.
That's lovely. How many sessions a week?
It's 3 sessions a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is time an issue for you?
It is a big issue. Yeah,
How
I would
long
have
does
to
it
be.
take you?
So you need half an hour initially to start to get going. So I would need to be. I have to actually get going at about 4:30 in the morning with my duties at the hostel. No, it's rough.
Can I make a suggestion, Jenny? I mean, obviously, if you look, I mean, the whole point of this program is to make sure that we're moving you in the direction of your goals, of course. I would recommend that you pull that down to twice a week. I really would. I really would. And the only reason I say that is because it's a great goal, but it's not necessarily, I mean, your jog is one goal. If I think about what you're looking to achieve, though, the strength work would be more, firstly, I think it would be more meaningful from a point of view of building engine strength, which is going to power you in a jog as well. So it'd be more imperative to do those 3 a week. And I'd be inclined to only bring in 2 cardio at this point. And I'm not even sure that I would bring in a third one for a very long time, until you're so motivated that you almost feel like you're holding yourself back and you can't wait to go. But especially for a 4:30 in the morning, I would drop it to 2. Yeah.
No, it's rough.
Weekends as well.
So weekends will probably be easier because I don't have to be up that early on a weekend. It's during the week that I have to be up at 4:30 if I want to include this.
Yeah. So maybe you do 1 weekend, 1 during the week sometime.
Yes.
But
it's doable.
Yeah, I wouldn't do twice. I mean, I wouldn't do 3 times. No.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions on this?
Yes. I've got a question. I'm really intrigued by this dry skin brush.
Okay. So gosh, I mean, there's some amazing benefits to this. Let me see if I can pull up just something to read you. Let me see if I've got it in a file on my computer. It's fantastic. I've been doing it for years. Clients, general. Let's have a look. Session documents, post. Okay, here we go. We're going to be dealing with cleansers. So we will actually talk through it. But let me just give you an idea of the benefits very quickly.
Those normal brushes which you buy at Clicks or Dischem, those.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, just a long-handled brush. Ideally, something that's not too rough on the skin. So basically, okay, it can help you obviously remove dead skin cells. That's a big one because we do shed quite a lot of these. So removing dead cells, it cleans the pores. It stimulates hormone and oil producing glands in the skin. It keeps the skin soft and supple because it responds to the pressure. Helps improve circulation. So that's a really nice one for cellulite. I find that it works incredibly well for cellulite. And here it says also it helps control cellulite by developing better muscle tone and distribution of fat cells. So this one's a good one for you, Elsner, in terms of the circulation, because it also gets into lymph. So try, if you can, maybe a good starting point for this. And I'll send you girls the protocol for it once we've discussed it. It has an enlivening influence on the nervous system through the stimulation of nerve endings. So it wakes the nervous system up, assists the body in removal of toxins because it's part of a skin cleanse protocol. It says generally help improve health and vitality. That's a little generalized. But so basically it requires, actually I'll send it to you this week just so you can have a read through it. But it requires just a circular upward brushing towards, if you're below the heart, you circularly brush upwards. And if you're above the heart, you circularly brush downwards. And I just do a circular action, the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands, backs of the hands, and and up the legs. And it's just little circular movements up. You can do it like a stroking brush action. People do different things. It just depends what you're used to. And generally takes you probably 3 minutes, maybe.
So it's quick.
Okay. Around the body, it's quick, 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah. And Jenny, as I said, I've dry skin brushed over my cesarean section.
Yes.
And I mean, you just can't see where that thing is. I mean, you'd have to really hunt for it. So it's very, very good at breaking down scar tissue. Remember also that women's female dermis is much thinner than a male dermis. When you say men have thick skin, I mean, it is literal. They do. And that's why cellulite doesn't show as much. I mean, generally they tend to store fat cells in different places, but generally they have a thicker skin, so they don't see that dimpled effect as much as we do. So having that thinner skin and this can certainly the brushing helps, as we said, with the distribution of fat. That's quite useful for that particular function. And yeah, I think it's just from a point of view of the quality of the skin, the tone of the skin. It's very, very useful for that. Yeah. So I'll make a note. I'll send you the dry skin brushing details. There will be other cleansers there. Just ignore those for now until we get a chance to talk about them. You're welcome to read them. Okay. Any other questions?
So you do it literally dry without any water or soap.
Yeah.
You do it before you go into the
shower. You
shower.
do it before you go into the shower. Yeah, because you want to sort of stimulate it. So it's the pressure that's actually doing the good stuff. Yeah, because if you wet yourself, you wouldn't be sloughing off either. You'd be wetting those pores. Yeah.
Okay. I'll start with that.
Yeah. Cool. Any questions on this particular exercise? Do you feel like you've got enough to piece something together that would be meaningful?
Another question, just want to ask you, from week 9, you say reduce sugar by 1/3. When you speak about sugar there, are you speaking about carbs?
Yes. So carbohydrates are all fruits, all vegetables, all simple sugars would be things like honey, sugar itself, fructose, as in not the fruit itself, but fructose, which you can purchase as an isolated sugar. What else would that be? Any concentrated sugar, really, high corn syrup, anything. And I put that in there, but to be fair and honest, I would switch just immediately to xylitol or stevia. So are you currently having sugar, Jenny?
No, haven't for years.
Okay, and Elsner?
I don't drink sugar.
Okay,
Yes,
so you girls, so you can do some
chocolates.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Your chocolate last night. Yeah, but those are necessary every now and then. So just as I say, try and think about and let me know if you need help with this. We can always discuss it. We can go into it next time in terms of the feedback period. But make it as useful to you as possible. So if I think about some of the work that I've done with clients, I've worked particularly recently with two young, guys in their 30s, two men in their 30s, both of them carrying excess weight, both of them looking to drop it. So we brought in HIIT training, and we brought in keto, and we brought in intermittent fasting, and we brought in strength training. And, it looked like it was a very simple document, because it would say, okay, from this period to this period, or this week, on the starting week 1, intermittent fast for 16 hours, keto under 50 grams every day, HIIT for, do a 5-minute warm up and maybe 4 sprints with recoveries, and strength train twice a week or once a week. And then we just built it up. Because we knew those 4 things were going to be the key things to getting them where they need to go. Now, you guys already have you've got intermittent fasting. We've got the 50 grams of carbs or lower. We've got all the other habits that you're going to start learning about you're going to start to be able to bring these in. So don't forget that we're going to be dealing with a whole lot of other things.
Mm.
Something as simple as, for example, turning your Wi-Fi off overnight. I mean, that's going to be a big one if it's possible. Okay. So Jenny, I don't know about the hostel, but and if it can't happen, it can't happen. That's fine.
Yeah.
There are other ways to manage the straws on the camel's back. But these
Yeah.
are all things that you can just start thinking about. Something as simple as before you go to sleep at night. So I know for me personally, most of your bulbs these days are LEDs. Now, if I can find incandescent, I'll put an incandescent in, but LED wakes me up because it's a blue light. So I've got a blue light filter on my computer. I've got a blue light filter on my phone. I've got, in fact, I've got black and white on this. It goes to black and white, which immediately takes the blue light out. So there's all sorts of things. And then I cover my light with a red towel, and that just brings that blue light down. And even those sorts of things you can start to bring in as daily. They just become part of your day, and they're all just moving you towards this state of much more efficiency, much calmer, much your body will appreciate those sorts of things. So you can just put those in, as you come across them and you think, oh yeah, I can do that. I can put something over my light, or I can work by candlelight. I can read by candlelight. I used to do a lot of that. I just put a candle on, because that doesn't keep me awake, and I'm very sensitive to light. So those sorts of things will come up as we go. So don't feel like you don't have to. What you want to start with is what you know, which is the exercise, the diet, the some of the lifestyle things that you're already aware of that need to change. We bring those in, and then every week you can start to add something to that, and so you'll build it as you go. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
All okay with that? Okay, lovely. And as I say, stop me if you've got any questions around that. So we've got 15 minutes, and I wasn't sure how long this exercise would take us. So I kind of, there's the section on cholesterol, which I really wanted to do with you, or the issues around brown fat. And I thought maybe the brown fat would be quite practical for you, because it's a way to burn calories without doing any exercise. So I thought maybe you would be interested in that. Did either of you come to my masterclass?
Yes, I did.
Both of you?
No.
Yeah.
Elsner, no.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So Jenny, you know this already, but maybe it's worth just going through it again and discussing it. Okay, so Elsner, for your sake, we have two types of fat in the body. We've got white fat and we've got brown fat. And white fat is the stuff that sits around the organs. It's the stuff that is quite hard to move, the stuff we don't really like, the stuff that sits around the middle. And then the brown fat is actually, it can act like muscle. It can be metabolically activated. So the idea really here is, how do we stimulate that brown fat so that it actually starts working for you? And you can see, excuse me, it has a very important role in the body. I mean, it's lovely because it breaks down blood sugar and fat molecules, and that's why we want, as much of it as possible. It's what helps us regulate our temperature. So it creates heat, and it burns calories in the process of creating heat. So it's a very useful component in the body. And we've got a lot of brown fat stores on the upper chest area and on the upper back area. So in order to switch, and you can pull some of the white fat into brown fat, so you can actually convert, you can recruit it, you can make it more metabolically active. You can't recruit all of it, but certainly you can do something. So there are lots of extreme ways to deal with this. So I remember I mentioned actually on that masterclass reading Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Body, and he's a lunatic. So he just he looks for like the most cutting edge stuff that the bodybuilders are using, and then he looks at the science that that's out there, and he does a sort of mingling of the two and gets very, very good results. So, and his thing was to use ice therapy for bringing this recruitment up. this recruitment of white fat to brown fat. And so his whole point with the 4-hour body was to say that you only need 4 hours a month of training in order to get seriously lean, because he was bringing in things like this, habits like this. Now, I don't know about you, but sitting in an ice bath, I actually don't think you would pay me enough. No. No. There's the gym that I'm at, we've got a fantastic, like, the amenities are amazing. We've got a plunge pool just outside the sauna. So we've got this a steam room and a sauna, and then there's a plunge pool that is, it's probably like 2 meters square, maybe 3 meters square. And it is freezing. It's like Clifton water. So it's maybe 11 degrees, 10, 11 degrees. And, when we're brave enough, we'll jump from the sauna into the plunge pool and then back again. I mean, it's always glorious going back into the sauna after being in that. But that's the kind of, and that's not even an ice bath, but that would be the kind of thing that would bring the body temperature down. So it's kind of sitting in that. Actually, even just a cold bath would do it. But So, I mean, it's one thing when you're standing upright. It's another thing when you're like lying down and you're trying to stay under the water. It's just no. So the plunge pool is easier too, because you've overheated in a sauna. A cold shower will do it. And I can remember in the UK last time I was here, when I did this dry skin brushing, I also did cold showers. And you let it hit the chest area, and then you turn and you let it hit the back, and you just keep rotating. And the idea is to get to the point where you're kind of lowering your body temperature.
But
so
that's massively on the chest and the back.
Well, that's where you've got quite a lot of brown fat. So you want to activate it in those 2 points. Okay. Reducing indoor temperature. I mean, for us in South Africa, I guess it's really probably in winter just opening windows and letting it really cool the place down, and not looking to heat yourself up. Again, I struggle with that. Tim Ferriss in particular he goes outside and he exercises in a t-shirt and shorts in the snow. That's the kind of thing he's doing. Yeah. Being outdoors in cold weather, well, I mean, that's not really South Africa's vibe, because we just don't have the snow. But the thing that I use with clients is this ice pack story. So if you take, your standard ice packs for injuries, I would take 2, put it at the front, 2 at the back. So you wrap them in a wet tea towel and you put them here on the chest area. So you've got them kind of sitting like this. And then you lie back on 2 as well. And as I say, you could grab a book, you could maybe watch TV or a movie or something, maybe, while you're doing something that you can relax a little bit with. And then you just pop it on those 2 areas. 20, 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be every day. As I said, every time you do something like this, which moves you in the right direction, you're going to be improving your chances of, benefiting from it.
Okay, but the brown fat, if you do this, so it works, am I going to lose weight, or am I going to lose fat on places I don't want them, or how will this work?
Well, basically what you're doing is sorry, what else now? You were going to say?
You can go ahead.
You can't spot reduce body fat. So, and that's why, unfortunately, for example, for me, and you'll each have your area, I'll lose off, if I lose body fat, it'll be my boobs that go. I'll be like, oh, I'm back to training size boobs, because that's where I tend to lose my fat first, which is a real pain. For some women, they'll lose it around their butts or their thighs. For others, it might be around the stomach. It depends entirely on, it depends on your body. And you can't really change that. All you can do is improve the muscle tone underneath the fat, so that if you lose in that area, you've got muscle to support the area. I mean, where would you not want to, if you say you don't want to lose fat, where are you talking about specifically?
My bum.
Yeah.
I don't have a bum.
Yeah, but your bum, even if you lost fat around your bum, it's not like you want to keep fat on your butt, you want to keep muscle. And remember, we spoke about your pelvis. The fact that you tilt the pelvis means you overwork the hamstrings, and your glutes don't want to because they're lazy. So that's
Yeah.
something different, and that requires quite a lot of focusing on activating the glutes in the right way. So yeah, you're not going to be able to spot reduce it. You're going to have to work on engaging the muscle, increasing the muscle size, and then whatever fat loss happens. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's not
Yeah.
likely that you're going to be losing, essentially, if you've got the brown fat here, this is going to be activating the caloric expenditure. So it's not like you're going to be leaning over and showering your backside, So, and I think actually butt is more white fat than brown. I don't think it's very metabolically active, the butt area. It's typically
Can I say
white fat.
something in Afrikaans?
Yes,
Do
yeah,
you
yeah.
understand?
Axel,
So al wat ek is nie baie goed met hierdie wit vet en bruin vet
Ja.
nie. Okay. So wat ek wil verstaan, as ek nou die ice packs elke aand op
Ja.
my bors en op my rug sit.
Ja.
Dit beteken nie ek gaan hier vet verloor nie. Dit stimuleer die bruin
Yeah,
vet in die liggaam.
yeah. What it's doing is it's generating heat for the whole body, so that's going to activate brown fat.
So,
Yeah,
oral in my life. Dis al wat ek
Ja.
wil verstaan.
Ja.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't make that very clear. Quite right. Yeah. So it's an overall effect because you're starting to cool down, because you've got big areas here. You're starting to cool down the body temperature, and then that's causing it to react. Yeah.
Okay, now I understand.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I say, unfortunately, you can't even put an ice pack on your backside, for those who want to lose weight there and hope it'll happen. Because I don't think that will work. Okay. So I'm going to, we'll talk cholesterol another time. It's a very, very interesting topic, especially for those, for us females starting to kind of head through the menopause period. We actually naturally should be raising cholesterol levels. So it's quite interesting. The message we're receiving in terms of what's out there mainstream wise is that we should be terrified of it, but actually in menopause our cholesterol levels should be rising quite significantly, and there's a protective element to that. So we'll discuss that. We might not get to it next time. I might pop it into the week after that, because I want to be as comprehensive as possible with diet stuff next week. And just a question, actually. Both of you are omnivores. You both eat meat and you both eat veg stuff. You're not vegan or vegetarian or anything. Okay,
No,
well,
not at all.
that's a relief. we can always discuss those diets. I mean, we can talk vegetarian, we can talk vegan, but we'll be looking at specifically a keto approach, and then this idea of carb cycling, so that we make sure that we take care of and Elsner, we spoke about, with the loop, I'll do a little bit of research, but it may be that we just keep you on a menopause type cycle. It's either that or we have to create your own cycle. So I need to kind of have a think about best way to do that.
Otherwise, I can phone my gynae, because I was with him about a month ago, and I can ask him where I was.
Yeah, I mean, he might. Did he test? Did he do some tests?
Yes.
Yes. Will you ask him, Elsner?
Yes, I will.
Do me a favor and
I'll
ask
phone him
him.
tomorrow.
Ask him for me and send me that information anyway, and
What do
that'll
you
help
want to do?
tremendously. That'll help a lot.
What must I send you? Where I am with my cycle?
Yeah, just ask him when you last saw him, where were you? Because you're looking to try and match your diet with your menstrual cycle, but because you're on the loop, you're not sure where you are in it, and see if he can give you an idea of which phase you're in, and
I'm
when
going to ask
maybe
him.
when
He'll be able
ovulation was, or yeah.
Yes,
All right.
because I know that works. Everybody, most of the people you go to, they always want to know where are you, at which stage of the cycle you are to fit in with the diet.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you girls have got some homework to do in terms of setting up that. If you want me to have a look at it once you've created it, just send it through to me, email it. I'm happy to take a look and see if there's anything, I'll just give you some notes in terms of being more specific, or maybe I've got some thoughts on, like I did with Jenny for you with the running. I just think it's going to be 6 times a week of any training is going to be too much. Yeah, and then I'll happily have a look and give you feedback if necessary. So take advantage if you'd like to.
Thank you.
I will.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right,
very much.
girls. Have a good evening. Jenny, you look
Good
like
evening.
you sleep.